She thumps a cane and drinks champagne. She's formidable and judgmental, but we can guarantee that she's a quintessential Lady D, who recognizes great potential. What would Danbury do?
Hello, and welcome to What Would Danbury Do, a podcast about the Bridgerton series from A to V. We have another bonus episode for you, and this one is sure to get your blood pumping. Australia recently hosted the McRobertson Shield Croquet Tournament, the world's premier croquet event, and we congratulate England, the winning team. Adele sits down with Sarina Cevaal-Hewitt, the Secretary and Public Officer of Croquet Victoria, who at first thought our request for an interview was a joke, but nonetheless sat down to watch Bridgerton for the first time so she could answer our questions. We hope that you love meeting her just as much as we did. Remember, you can find us online at Bridgerton Pod on Twitter or Facebook and at WWDD Pod on Instagram. Join the conversation using hashtag WWDDpod.
So Sarina, thank you so much for joining us here on What Would Danbury Do. You are, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the Secretary and Public Officer of Croquet Victoria. And Kate was the one to reach out, and she said, I think they think I'm joking or it's a prank. I would maybe. It is a very specific niche request, so we thank you very much for talking to us today. We knew Pall Mall would be coming up in season 2. We knew, obviously, if you've read the books, which you might not have, it's a large part of the books, but we also knew sometimes that adaptations can change forms and lots of things don't get included, but we were pretty sure Pall Mall would, so we reached out to Croquet Victoria to have a chat about what we've seen in season 2. There is mainly one big portion of croquet fingers in episode 3 of this season, where the Bridgerton family and the Sharma family come together for a house party and play croquet. So I'm going to ask you questions, and you can tell me how much of this is realistic and how much of this is a fantasy, which the show is, as we've just been discussing. So you watched Bridgerton. Were you watching it before we got in contact?
No, but I knew of it.
Yeah.
And others in the croquet world were reminding me that I should watch it. Now, we're currently trying to expand our own niche sport, which is croquet, by live streaming events. And then this Pall Mall in Bridgerton came up, and everybody just stood up and looked. You know, it's an adaptation of, well, for many people, it's part of the history of croquet. So we're really pleased to see it on the screen. And I think pretty much it follows the rules of the day.
I'm shocked.
I'm also surprised that it's something that took all afternoon because, you know, Miss Edwina says we'll have a pleasant afternoon. So I was surprised that would take all afternoon. I was surprised that there was a gazebo set up. And there was Lady Danbury and Bridgerton matriarch sitting there, and they're watching and they're commentating. And I think it's something that obviously happened quite a bit at these stately homes in that era.
I mean, they didn't have TV or the internet. So they had, you know, and I mean, a lot of them had a lot of money and nothing to do. So it was a pretty nice setup.
Yeah, the backdrop was brilliant. Servants bringing us food and drink, and I think the Bridgerton family play it quite a bit. For them to know each other so well and their eccentricities on the course, and I'll say course, not court, they play it quite a bit, I think, when they're at their country home, yeah.
So to circle back to something you were saying, Pall Mall, from what I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there's lots of variations of croquet, and Pall Mall was a bit more in vogue in the 1600s?
1700s.
To 1800s.
Yep,
wow.
Yep. From my research, I believe that it definitely is part of the history of croquet. Even if only the equipment, which is the mallet, and they had a boxwood ball or balls painted in the colours. There were 6 colours, and the mallet should have matched those colours. And you'll notice that Edwina is either cannot or must be blue. It's one of those in the Bridgerton rules of Pall Mall.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was really impressed with the fact that they tried to keep it authentic. The setup was actually smaller than I thought. From historical records, Pall Mall would have been played down a long alleyway, but it was more, we'll set the wickets where we want, and probably to make it as hard as possible for the others that are playing us. And I think they've all enjoyed it. And
I think it's a nice little storytelling aspect to have the course be, I guess, bastardized by the family in the competitiveness, or maybe the producers of the show decided to do it to get the better shots that they wanted and set up the story. But I in the books, the Bridgertons are fiercely competitive about Pall Mall. It is a tradition, and it's exactly what you said. It's something that they've been playing together for a long time, and it's interesting that you picked that up from just watching it, which shows the actors were doing a really good job as well. I saw a description, and it was that croquet players are known for being viciously competitive. Is that true? So then the Bridgertons are just doing what croquet players do?
Well,
you
croquet,
laughed and you had a twinkle in your eye.
Croquet is known as very nice people playing a vicious game, basically. Very nice off the court, but once you step onto that court. However, with Pall Mall, they must have been brought up with it, I think, all of them from a young age. So if, by the time Anthony got to play, he would have been playing for 25 years? Yeah. So, they're all nice people anyway.
So we see that Edwina's quite uncomfortable throughout the scene. Is she just too nice to play croquet well?
So. I think so. Yes. She hasn't got that, maliciousness in her to knock the opponent away and to get that extra bonus shot by contacting an opponent's ball. But that would be part of her education towards where she is at that time in life. She's been educated to attract a well-heeled husband, hasn't she?
Yeah. Whereas Kate has
subservience in her.
Yeah. I think in the books too, she's kind of just politely going through it as well. I did like that Daphne sort of gave us a bit of a summary of what was going to happen right at the start of the scene, and saying, I love that Colin's going to be the dark horse. And I forgot that until after Kate hit Anthony's ball into the bushes, he comes out of nowhere and does the same to her, which sort of serves 2 points. One, it tells us a bit about Colin being very mischievous
and opportunistic.
And opportunistic is a really good word, which is very true of the Colin of the books. And also that he might suspect that Kate and Anthony should go and spend some time.
Gave them an opportunity to be together without anybody else around.
Yes.
A lot of people say that the early versions of croquet, that was exactly why they wouldn't let men and women play, because they would head off into the bushes looking for lost balls.
Really? This is getting better and better.
Because croquet was banned in America for some time because unchaperoned opposite sex could end up in the bushes, deliberately or not. A little bit of courting could go on.
Well, we did have a conversation that was a bit too naughty for me to summarise, but croquet does involve something very phallic and something very ball-like. Is it inherently sexy?
Oh, well, these days, no. These days, well, first of all, we don't look as good as the people in Bridgerton when we're playing.
I mean, no one does, though, Sarina. No. I wish.
We tend to play it where we're half bent over, and it's not a good look. They were more upright and elegant. They're much more elegant than the way we play croquet. And also they played what we would call side swing. These days we tend to actually swing the mallet between the legs.
Which we didn't really see from any of the players, did we?
Only once. There's only one scene, yes. And it might have been Colin or somebody. But, so there's been changes.
Yeah.
But I think they were pretty true to the original rules of Pall Mall, which is that they set the wickets up. You have to go through the wickets in numbered order. You can actually go back or front through the wickets, either direction. Along the way, you can earn bonus points by going through the wicket or by hitting your opponent's ball away, and whenever possible, hit them in the bushes. So that works.
So this sounds like Julia Quinn, who wrote the series, really did her research, which is fantastic. So, Croquet Victoria, do you have lots of love matches that have happened as a result of the sport?
Actually, there have been a few. Yes, there have been a few. One of the things that attracts a lot of people to croquet is that it's a non-contact sport. So you can't
until the break.
It's not until you end up in the mud. It's not a sport where you can hit somebody or shoulder them off the field or whatever. And so perhaps your competitive spirit needs to show itself in how well you hit the ball, isn't it? Yeah. So, but yes, there have been a couple actually, and I can think of two couples that have ended up married through croquet just in the recent past.
So don't worry about Tinder. You don't have to swipe. You can actually just go and join your local croquet club.
Yep.
And love is in your future. I actually think this is probably the hottest thing that's happened to croquet in decades, potentially. That this show could actually, if the clubs use it properly, it could actually be really good for membership or getting people more interested in the sport.
I think it goes even beyond that because Bridgerton is watched around the world. Croquet is not played around the world. It's not.
Oh, where is croquet? Is it just Western countries?
No, it's spreading into India and Latvia, Russia, Switzerland, Norway. It is getting around the world. South Africa, Australia, United States, New Zealand and England are actually the major countries. But yes, it is spreading throughout. But because this series is screened throughout the world, is actually a huge boost for croquet.
Yeah. So have you talked about how you're going to jump on this?
Well, yes, we have.
Yes.
We've already used the link to the episodes, and we've used those on our social media. We were criticised for not actually creating our own podcast, so this podcast has been heaven sent. Yeah. So.
This is fantastic.
No, it is. Yeah.
Oh. So, did anyone have good form? Was there anyone when you were watching them play outside of Kate? Had good form.
Brilliant form, yeah.
Really?
And Colin, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Anthony, no. He was doing some weird crickety thing, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was too emotional.
What, men are never emotional, Sarina. I thought you knew that. It's all the women.
Yeah, I think he was too emotional in the day, yeah. But Kate, I think, was really enjoying herself. I think
absolutely.
She grasped the format of the day really quickly. Yes. And of course it allowed two families to come together, didn't it? To do something in common. Yeah.
It was one of the most delightful scenes. I really, really love it when all the family members are together. You learn so much about them by how they're interacting and playing. I love it.
Oh, I think it's actually quite imaginative to devote a series to the journey towards love for each of the siblings. I think somebody's done that really well. Whoever thought about that in the beginning has done that really well.
Do you have a favourite sibling?
Colin. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where he goes.
Well, apparently, rumours are he's next season. They're actually going to skip Benedict, or they're going to put a couple of the siblings have their love stories told at the same time, which would play because the books, Eloise's book, Colin's book, and Benedict's and Francesca's all happen at the same time. Francesca's the child that you never see.
And then there's Gregory as well.
Yeah.
And Hyacinth.
Yeah. Which
is there a reason that we don't see Francesca? Do you know?
Yeah, so in the books, she's the child that's never quite there. I think Julia Quinn kept forgetting she existed. And then by the time her book comes, which is When He Was Wicked, which is the 5th book, they kind of made that her character, that she's the introvert in a big family of people who love and feel very hard, and it's a lot. She loves them, but she needs to be away from them. So her book happens completely in Scotland. It is very spicy. It is one of my favorite books. But yeah, I think they've just continued it in the show, as I feel like it's a bit of a joke, because it's kind of a joke in the books as well. But the actress was also the lead in another Netflix show, so she wasn't completely available. But her book is very good. Hopefully we'll get there. I mean, if it's getting 600 million views in a month, then I think we're going to see all 8 seasons. Yes, There's a bit of superstitious kind of thinking here. Like, Anthony has a strong attachment to the mallet of death, which is the black mallet that Kate swipes, not knowing it's his, and that he is that superstition is kind of a big thing with sports people. Is that the case in croquet? What kind of superstitions exist?
Some of our elite players do have superstitions. You know, they have their lucky socks and lucky mallet and lucky shirt.
Do they name their mallets?
Oh, some do, but not a lot. No, probably a bit more pragmatic, I suppose we are. But yes, and some have quite a routine too. You know, routine before big matches. What people don't realise is that by the time you have played, say, 6 or 7 competitive croquet games, golf croquet games, you can have walked 15, 20 kilometres in a day.
Wow.
Because your opponent's hitting you away. So you've got to go to your ball. See, so it's just people are under the misconception that it's not a sport, that it's just a recreation, but it isn't. It is an absolute sport. And there are various versions of croquet, and the biggest version is what we call the Olympics of croquet, and that's where the 4 countries, the big countries of England, United States, big croquet playing countries, England, United States, New Zealand and Australia, come together every 4 years. Now, COVID's wrecked that a bit.
Oh, it's wrecked everything, but yeah.
They come together for what's called test matches, where each country plays the other. And it's 15 days of croquet that can start at 8 o'clock in the morning and finish at 9 o'clock at night. And these people that are playing it are representing their country. It is a huge event. It's due to happen in Australia in November this year, COVID willing. But it's easily as exhausting as many other sports. People just don't give it the credit that it's due. It's also a very tactical sport.
Yeah.
We saw that even in the Pall Mall, knock your opponent away. It is quite tactical where you place your ball.
Was there any character that sort of is representative of your gameplay style, Sarina?
Probably Kate.
Kate.
Yeah.
You're ferocious. Well,
I try to be polite, but underneath it all, it's show no mercy, basically.
Oh, excellent. Are there injuries you can get playing croquet?
Some people who do not take care, because the mallet is swung through the legs now, occasionally hit your ankle. And boy,
Yikes.
Is that painful.
Yeah, that would just reverberate all up your leg. Yeah, that'd be unpleasant.
And it'd be interesting to know how much the mallets that were used in Bridgerton actually weigh. Today, mallets weigh anything from, in the old weights and measures, 2 to about 3.5 pounds. And by the time that's got a bit of a swing and a force on it, you can actually open your ankle. But it happens very rarely. The only other thing that occasionally happens is if people are walking backwards and don't realise there's a hoop behind them.
Oof.
Yeah. But once you get to an elite level, your court awareness is there the whole time. Yeah, it's beginners.
So,
you've got to watch.
Because in my head, I'm like, well, lawn bowls have had a bit of a sort of comeback last few years. Yeah, with the social bowls and have a drink. I don't know if drinking and croquet sound like they should go together, though.
Part of that is because so few of our croquet clubs have liquor licenses.
Yeah.
They don't have the bars. Yes, in the opinion of many people, many of our croquet clubs actually set up next to bowling clubs. So the men played bowls on Saturday afternoon and the ladies, in between providing afternoon tea for the menfolk, played croquet. But actually a heck of a lot of our croquet courts and clubs are actually on council-owned land now. And it's a collaboration between you, the croquet club, and the mother club, which may be a tennis club, a bowling club, a golf club, or just on council land.
It sounds like a good hens party, honestly, is playing some croquet.
Absolutely. And that is, it's used a lot for weddings and, as you say, hens parties, bachelor parties, and for a lot of corporate bonding events.
Yeah.
Because there are versions that are quick versions where a game can be played 45 minutes to 60 minutes, and they use that for corporate events. So off you go, play this game, come in, have a glass of wine and a barbecue or something.
Can you get Anthony to attend as well?
Yes.
I would love a very emotional, angry man who's very handsome to also feature. Sounds like that's not. So if someone wants to see what it's like, what would you recommend that they do wherever they might be in the world?
That you find your local croquet club. And the vast majority, I'm not sure that there's any club that would not welcome you. Croquet is played in Australia. We have between slightly over 9,000 that play it. They're affiliated, and an equal number would play it on what we call a social basis. So they're the people that go to these corporate events for these hens parties. And some of them do it every year, that the Christmas party is at the local croquet club. And that's a fundraising for the club, but also a fun thing. And the beauty of croquet in Australia is that it's an all-year sport.
Yeah.
Other countries have it seasonal because winter's too bad. But in Australia, with our weather, it's very rare that we cancel, and we play in the rain.
Oh, because we're hardcore that way, Australians.
Yeah, we are. The only time we move off the court is if there's lightning.
Oh.
Or what we call pooled water, which is if, the whole court's underwater. Otherwise, we play. Yeah.
Is that an advantage for Australians and New Zealanders that we have more moderate temperatures, so we can be better all year round?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how do we find you? You mentioned social media for Writers Victoria. Where can we find you?
We have a Croquet Victoria Facebook page.
We'll link this in the show notes. Yeah,
which is called Victorian Croquet Association. But we also have our website, Croquet Victoria website.
Excellent.
So, and just head on down there and you can find club contacts, or just put a message in somewhere and we'll help you.
Excellent.
Or contact me.
Absolutely. The secretary, who is known for being super malicious. Sounds like the dream, honestly. I think I'd like to hang out and have a beer with you. I guess the last question is, did you enjoy Bridgerton? You watched this because we asked you to.
Yeah.
Would you continue watching it, or is it a one and done?
No, I will continue watching it. I've watched both seasons, probably with a more critical eye, because I have been a stage manager and involved in theatre.
Oh, wow.
And I'm probably looking more from the point of view of plot lines, but also the costumes.
Oh, aren't they delicious?
Gorgeous. And handsome men.
Is there anything that just made your breath catch in your chest? Is there something from the 2 seasons that you just found yourself just amazed by?
Everybody knew how to dance. It wouldn't matter what the dance is. Somebody just walks on the floor and they know exactly where they are and what they've got to do. It's just amazing. Oh. And the formations of the dancing, I mean, they all must have had to learn how to do that.
Yeah, there's actually videos online. You can watch them learning it in like normal civvies. I'll send you a link.
But back then, if you were part of the season's crop of young women looking for a rich husband, you had to have all these skills. And you just had to know all these different dances, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you just had to step onto the floor and know where you were.
Yeah, I have no rhythm. I would have been terrible. I would have been that person stomping and counting under their breath and looking at the floor. Like, I wouldn't have had it. I probably would have been a peasant anyway. So
the other thing that intrigued me was that all the dance scenes were this crop of season's best beauties, but we never saw the chaperones or the parents dancing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Did you stop dancing once you were married?
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, but did you? I don't know.
I know that if you danced like 3 times was a declaration that you were engaged, basically. It was not okay. 2 times edging on the but in terms of married people, I guess they're not interested in married people. I think they're interested in the wallflowers and the diamonds and the young bucks that are around. So
and the dowry you brought to the arrangement.
Absolutely. I think if you think about Pride and Prejudice 2005 with Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden, I think that was more realistic in terms of the crush of a dance floor. I don't think there would be as nice formations and space as there was in Bridgerton. But again, it is a fantastical alternate reality version of...
You asked me what else sort of caught my attention.
Yeah.
The Queen's interest in the societies going on. That really intrigued me. She didn't set herself apart from what was happening around her. She was actively engaged in marital matchups, whatever.
It's a good observation. I was thinking about that myself because she was an opera singer, so she wasn't different. She didn't consider herself royalty. So I wonder if, the public perception of her is really important because it was very important to her in her career. And I think, she hasn't been able to let that go. But also the theatricality of what she wears and the wigs and everything is just so amazing. There's that purple wig in, I think, the first episode, which is just incredible.
Almost like Marge Simpson.
No, you're right, but classy. But I mean, you mentioned theatre. We've got so many amazing theatre actors getting their due on this show, and it's something I've thought about is, if you're theatre trained, you're very good at that Shakespearean grand sort of storytelling. I think that's very similar to what we're sort of seeing here on Bridgerton.
What will happen, do you know, that as we go through the pathway of the siblings yet to come, some of them are very young at the moment.
Yes.
Will they be replaced by other actors, or are we waiting for them to naturally age?
Well, Gregory had it looked like he doubled like a gremlin in the year and a half they were away. He got quite big. I don't know. I think they're going to stick with it, but I also it's a much weirder to watch a sex scene of someone you saw as a child. You know what I mean? It's just hard. Yeah. I think they're like both 14, 15. So by the time it's their turn, they might be 19, 20, which is still be uncomfortable for me as a viewer, but because I've seen them as children. But Hyacinth gets married quite young. Gregory, I think, he's 24, 26. So I don't know. We'll see. It would be easier to recast them, but that's presuming they get 8 seasons. They have got a commitment to 4. So maybe they're hoping to get it all done in those. But I guess we don't know. Like, Netflix is doing very, very well on this show. So I suspect it will go for as long as they like it. But another thing that Netflix has is their 3-season rule. Basically, they don't think they get any more subscribers even with a successful show. So they don't tend to go longer than 3 seasons. So the fact that they've already got a 4-season commitment is pretty impressive. But again, like culturally dominant, you see it everywhere, social media, the media. It's affecting music trends, it's affecting makeup and fashion trends. So I think it's zeitgeist at this point. But it's just nice that it's a female-dominated story. Oh, well, I guess this season wasn't so much. It was very much about Anthony, but it's nice because it makes you feel good.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us. And I hope people get some of their friends together and go and check out some croquet, because we would love to see people getting their mallets chosen and seeing if they can get a ball. Is it called the ball? The ball through the wicket?
Yes, the croquet ball.
Yeah. Do we have a naturally talented Kate in the audience of this podcast? I don't know.
We've got very many naturally talented. One of the dramas that we face, not dramas, but one of the issues we face is we often hook young teenagers into the game, but then along comes jobs at McDonald's, members of the opposite sex, university, and we lose them.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very hard to actually keep them going. And this is where New Zealand does so well. They keep them through university. They have sort of like a pathway forward. Yeah, so that's a bit sad. But we've got world champions. We've got a young man that was a world champion at 20.
Holy moly.
about 2014. And so he took himself off over to England and he beat everybody.
Oh, good for him.
Oh, yes, yes. He was one of three brothers called the Fletcher brothers. And all three of them were in the team that last won the Mac Robb Shield, which is what I was saying was the Olympics. It was played at Florida. And the three of them were in the 6-member team for that, which is very rare to get three siblings from one family.
Yeah.
So they are all World Championship Shield holders. Yeah.
So they were playing in Florida. Did they have to watch out for gators and things? Like, what happens if...
Don't know. They played at what's called the National Croquet Centre in Florida. And these three boys were homeschooled. And croquet was, as you know, people that are youngsters that are homeschooled are required to have a craft and a sport. So their father set them on a train of, right, we're going to go to croquet, then we're going to go to bowls, and then we're going to go somewhere else. And he said, we never got past croquet.
Wow.
These three. One of those children won a trophy at 8, about 8 years old. Just amazing. Oh.
In my mind, I don't know much about croquet and I don't know much about the sport I'm going to mention, but it sort of feels like a curling in the Winter Olympics. There's curling, which is very very niche, but amazing to watch, quite dynamic, as much as a block of stone going across the ice. It is super amazing to watch. Yeah, but croquet sort of feels like, that very specialized, summer version.
It's incredibly tactical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You have to think almost 4 strokes ahead.
Yeah, I'd be terrible.
Like tennis, where you react to the one ball coming over the net and you hit it and that's it, and then you wait for the next one. You have to actually think, where am I going to position my ball for best effect and that sort of thing. It's very, very tactical.
I think Kate would be phenomenal at croquet. Rudy would be the one just ruining everyone's game. There are other hosts. I would be the one probably just laughing at everyone and not really thinking about what I'm doing too hard. So I'd be the one hitting my ankle. Yeah. Yeah. So we've got the whole gamut. Yeah. But thank you so much, Sarina. I'm going to stop it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to another What Would Danbury Do bonus episode. Please hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to be notified when we release new episodes, and we have some more bonus episodes this season as well. Stay in touch online by finding us on Twitter and Facebook at Bridgerton Pod and on Instagram at WWDD Pod. This episode of What Would Danbury Do was recorded on the traditional and unceded lands of the Wurundjeri, Boonwurrung, and Wurundjeri people. What Would Danbury Do is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more great podcasts at frolic.media/podcasts.
What would Danbury do?